Welcome in, everyone, to the Week 7 edition of the Next Game, New Game podcast. Getting you ready for this week's NFL action. Matt Catrillo here with you. With me this week is our man, Ian Hunter. Ian, what's going on?
I'm a tired man, Matt. It's been a very busy week at work this week, so I'm saying wrong words and trying to get through and get some rest.
Well, there we go. Hopefully we won't be saying too many wrong words today and maybe make some right picks.
Yeah, that would be good.
I don't know where we are with the picks, by the way, because we haven't been able to get D-Jock on the last couple of weeks. I've completely lost track where we are.
Well, if it's anything like last year, you're probably killing us all.
Oh, I know last week, I think I finished under 500, because this last 3 weeks in the NFL have just been completely gone bonkers, so who knows how this is going to turn out this week.
Yeah, it's right around that time of year of mid to late October where the weird things start happening.
Yeah, no question about it. The Steelers are able to get the big win in Kansas City last week, so there is no longer any undefeated teams left in the league. The Chiefs and the Eagles tied for the best record in the NFL. And speaking of those Chiefs, Ian, let's get right to it. Our first next game, new game of Week 7, Thursday Night Football. The Chiefs trying to get back on the winning track, taking on the desperate 2-4 Oakland Raiders. How they're even there? I mean, we know we had the Derek Carr injury and everything, but I still did not expect them to be struggling this much. Ian, what say you on this matchup? And obviously this is a big one for Oakland.
It really is a big one for Oakland, but they're not playing very well at all. And I think Kansas City is going to get back on the horse. I know it's a tough turnaround. I think Tyreek Hill is going to play tonight. I would imagine Kareem Hunt gets rolling again against a defense that, quite frankly, for Oakland has really, really, really underperformed. It's been actually a major disappointment for me this year. I thought this defense was going to be better, and they're not. Give me Kansas City here.
Yeah, I'm with you there, because one of the biggest disappointments about this Oakland defense, Ian, is they can't stop the run, and that's not good when you're facing probably one of the best backs right now in the league in the rookie Kareem Hunt. So I will take the Chiefs as well. You do have Navarro Bowman coming in to play tonight after squeezing in some time after just being signed earlier in the week, but I don't know how much of a difference really that makes. Tons of offensive issues. There's no Amari Cooper for Oakland, so I'll take Kansas City, and I think somewhat of a tight ball game, but I think they're able to grind one out in the end.
Usually pretty tight, but give me the team that's way more consistent in games like this. So I'll take Kansas City.
Right, and after this past Thursday night, when the Eagles beat the Panthers, away teams are now 5-1 this season on Thursday Night Football. So we'll go now to.
It's surprising, man.
It is really surprising, yeah. When I looked it up last week, because normally it's the other way around, but this year, as we've talked about, it's just been quite opposite. Next game, new game. Big AFC West matchup. LA Rams coming off the win last week, taking on
NFC West.
Yes, taking on the Arizona Cardinals. What do you say about this one, Ian?
This is interesting because I don't want to look too much into Arizona's win last week with Adrian Peterson running as well as he did and Larry Fitzgerald. I have to remember that those players are in their mid-30s, teams like that consistently together. So I think this LA Rams team is dangerously close to being a really, really good team, and I think I'm gonna take the Rams in this game.
Yeah, I agree. They are just a few more key pieces offensively away from being that dangerous team, Ian. I still think they can win this division. I know they lost to Seattle 2 weeks ago, but I think they roll in this game. I don't like where this Arizona team is at overall. There's no way that they should have nearly blown that big lead they had last week against a Buccaneers team that had Ryan Fitzpatrick back at quarterback when Jameis Winston got hurt. So I like LA to roll in this one. Next game.
I'm not sure if they'll roll, but I think, Sammy Watkins has to actually show up. He hasn't shown up in 2 weeks, so they need him to have a good day. I understand that Patrick Peterson will probably be running around with him, but he needs to show up and be productive this week.
Right, and they have to give him opportunities as well. Next game, new game. Carolina Panthers coming off the loss on Thursday night against the Eagles, traveling to the Windy City to take on the Chicago Bears. How does this one unfold, Ian?
Oh, man. See that Carolina should win this game. But I just don't. I don't trust this team. I mean, you don't know what Cam Newton you're going to get. Just offensive line-wise, they're not very good. Defensively, they've been mediocre. And the Chicago team has found weird ways to win football games. So I think this is going to, give me Chicago.
Ooh, all right. I mean, they did get the big win last week in overtime on the road in Baltimore. Mitch Trubisky's looked okay so far.
Really hard to blow it, but
true. All right, they did blow a 17-0 lead in that process, but I'm still going to lean Carolina just because I don't think Chicago's going to have enough, especially in the trenches, to slow down Carolina on both sides of the ball. So I don't foresee this being a blowout by any means. I think it could be a competitive game. But I just think Carolina just has a little bit too many weapons. I know Kelvin Benjamin's maybe won't play this week. He left practice earlier this week. But I'll still take Carolina to pull one out on the road. Next game, new game. Speaking of those Ravens, coming off the loss last week, traveling on the road to take on the Minnesota Vikings, Ian.
Give me Minnesota all day. This is a really good team. Even without Dalvin Cook, give me Minnesota. That defense is really, really good. Baltimore is really, really bad. They can't score points, and they're going up against what I think is one of the top 5 defenses in the NFL. Give me all day the Minnesota Vikings.
This is this year so far, and specifically the last 3 weeks, Ian, in a nutshell. Case Keenum's playing really, really well.
Yeah, I mean, and that's
give me the
best defenses and best quarterback play. And if you're Minnesota, that's what's going on right now.
And then Teddy Bridgewater is now practicing this week, so who knows how this is going to unfold for the Vikings in the near future here. But, yeah, give me Minnesota, too. I think this could be a blowout myself. I love that defense. I think they can give Joe Flacco hiccups all day long, so give me the Vikings. Next game, new game, another big one. This one in the AFC South in a division, Ian, that I'm very disappointed with as a whole. Jacksonville on the road taking on Indianapolis, who just broke an 11-game losing streak to the Titans who had that broken against the Titans on Monday night. And this is everybody's 3-3 in this division, Ian, except the Colts, who are 2-4. And I think they're going to go to 2-5. I think Jacksonville's defense is going to be too much for that Indy offense to handle. I'll take Jacksonville on the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Give me Jacksonville the whole way. Andrew Luck's playing, maybe a different story, but no Andrew Luck, no chance.
Next game, new game. One of our bigger ones we thought of this week until the Aaron Rodgers injury. We'll see what Brent Hundley looks like with a full week of practice and preparation as his Packers host the New Orleans Saints last week, who, Ian, I am starting to get a little bit nervous about here because I think this defense may have something in terms... let me say this. I think the formula of the way they're winning games right now is kind of similar to the way they won the Super Bowl in 2009, where they had an offense that has a ton of weapons that can score points, where the defense is mediocre at best, but they're finding ways to create turnovers when they need it at the most. And you saw that obviously played in sight in that unbelievably wild game that they had with the Detroit Lions last week. So I will take New Orleans to steal one on the road in Green Bay. I just don't trust Brent Hundley right now.
Right now, I'm a big quarterback guy, and I think you have to go with Drew Brees here. He's playing. He scored a lot of points last week, but he didn't necessarily play all that well. What is doing well right now is that New Orleans running game. Alvin Kamara is a matchup nightmare, and I think he's going to give that defense for Green Bay fits. I think Brett Hundley he'll probably play well. That is not a very good defense at all for the Saints. But you're right; they're forcing turnovers. They're doing some things that made them a great team in the early 2010s. So. You gotta give me the Saints until Brett Hundley proves me what he can do after a full week of practice, where he's the guy. You gotta go with the Saints.
Yeah, I think this definitely could be a little bit of an ugly game, Ian, with both defenses creating some turnovers, but I still think New Orleans will pull it out because they have more offensively right now. Next game, new game. This will be an interesting one. We'll see if Jameis Winston does play this week. His Bucs on the road taking on the Buffalo Bills, who are still in the thick of it for the AFC East as of right now because of the Patriots' slow start. Do the Bills get it done at home, Ian?
This has been such a disappointing Tampa team. I really thought they were going to make a really strong push this year. Jameis is hurt. This is a team that Buffalo is playing good team ball. Give me the Bills.
I like Buffalo, too. I really like that defense. Obviously, you got Sean McDermott at the helm now in his first season. and I really like the way they're playing, especially at home. So I will take Buffalo rather on the road too. I just either way, fully healthy Jameis Winston or not healthy Jameis Winston, I don't really trust the quarterback himself right now, and it's been a sputtering type of start for that Tampa Bay offense. Next game, new game, the winless Cleveland Browns hosting the Tennessee Titans. Marcus Mariota was okay last week in his debut back from injury, but I still think with that running game that the Titans finally, hopefully found and will stay consistent now with Derrick Henry, I think the Titans pull one out on the road.
You know, they say, Matt, that an apple a day keeps the doctor away. A game against the Cleveland Browns keeps the boo birds away. Give me the Titans all day.
I like that. That's pretty good. It's very good, Ian.
Thank you.
The next game, new game. After the controversial call against the Jets last week,
worst
led them to lose.
Ever.
I totally agree with that. They're on the road taking on the Miami Dolphins, who came back from a 17-0 deficit to beat Atlanta on the road. I still can't get over that game. Ian, what's your vibe?
New York team's playing better than I think everyone thought they would.
Yeah, clearly.
And the Miami team that we thought was going to be better has been underperforming significantly. A lot of drama, very Miami-like. I think that this New York defense, their young players, especially their young secondary, I think they make some plays, and I think the Jets win this game. I think the Jets stay with the New England Patriots.
I'm with you, Ian. There's something about this Jets team. I think that massive chip that they have on their shoulder, because let's face it, I only expected them to win one, maybe two games at best. I'm sure you had the same, and mostly everybody else did. So I think they're using that as fuel, and I think they pull this one off on the road too, just because you've seen some flashes of this Miami offense, but at the same time, you've seen how bad they are. So I just don't trust their inconsistencies, and I just think the Jets are, believe it or not, a little bit more consistent right now, so I'll take the Jets on the road too.
Plus, J.H.I. is questionable again. No consistency in their backfield, and Jay Cutler without the threat of a backfield running mate is not very good, Jay Cutler.
Absolutely. And now we go to our next game, new game. The winless 49ers, who just can't find any way to buy a win right now. They've been so close, I think, for most
every week it's been like Browns, 3 points. Yeah.
They've lost 2 overtime games already. They nearly pulled one out in Washington last week, and they continue their NFC East tour as they host the Dallas Cowboys with Ezekiel Elliott. We'll see how the wind turns on that one, let's say, in the next 8 hours or so. And either way, I think the Cowboys pull it off. Just too much weapons for San Francisco to handle.
Yeah, I think so. I think San Francisco gives them a game and makes it tougher than maybe we think. But I do know that San Francisco, they just put one of their top defensive linemen on IR. I believe DeForest Buckner?
Can't tell you off the top of my head.
I can't remember which one. They put one of the guys on IR, and you have C.J. Beathard starting as rolling as your starting quarterback right now. So yeah, give me Dallas, but I think the 49ers at least make it interesting for a little bit.
There's another ism of this season: C.J. Beathard at quarterback. And nearly coming back against the Redskins last week.
I mean, you have Tucker Beathard is coming up the ranks in country music. You have a starting quarterback in the NFL. What a time to be a Beathard.
Yeah, I would definitely have to say. No doubt about that. Next game, new game, big one in the AFC West. The LA Chargers, who have all of a sudden won 2 in a row, host the Denver Broncos. What do you think about this one, Ian?
You got to give me Denver. I mean, but on the other side of that, man, Denver's offensive line is playing really, really bad again. And Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa are on their way in town. I think you got to give me Denver, though. But Denver does have Emmanuel Sanders. I don't know. Sanders
is a big loss.
What's that?
Sanders is a big loss for them.
Yeah, it really is. You know what? Give me the Chargers.
I do agree, Ian. You stole my thunder because I was sticking. This was my big, I guess I call it my big upset of the week, but it is my upset nonetheless. I am taking the Chargers in this game because the way Denver played last week against that atrocious Giants offensive line, and they couldn't get any pressure on Eli Manning. I mean, that game was embarrassing if I'm a Bronco fan on national TV last week to put out a stinker like that.
I mean, the Giants were going to win one eventually.
Yeah, but
they
Denver did
no
not show up
weapon.
to win that football game on Sunday. I'm sorry. They did not show up the way they
They
played
rushed
that
for
game.
over 100 yards. Come on, if you're Denver, but Denver's probably going to bounce back too. We saw what happened with Pittsburgh and Kansas City.
Yeah, but
Pittsburgh played awful the week before, and then had a great performance, against on the road in Kansas City. I'm still going to take the Chargers, but I think it's going to be a really great game.
I'm still sticking with the Chargers too, just because when you have an embarrassing game like that where you can't come out any worse than the Broncos did, and I think that's an issue. And they're going on the road, although home field advantage really hasn't been the greatest for the Chargers. I still think they get it done.
The road
regardless.
in LA for the Chargers, that doesn't mean anything.
That's exactly right. Only because of those Eagle fans there a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Next game, new game, Ian. This was flexed for the Steelers. We finally get to them now as they host the Cincinnati Bengals. Steelers, of course, bounce back with the big win in Kansas City, hanging on. Crazy catch by AB. Do the Steelers make it 2 in a row, Ian, and get back on track here?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. Not necessarily because Pittsburgh's going to win the game, but because the Bungles are going to bungle and lose the game at the end. And I look forward to this every year, man, watching the Bengals blow
I agree.
a game. So.
And because it always happens, too, against Pittsburgh.
They always get in their head. There's always like one 15-yard penalty that was like totally unnecessary that will unequivocally give Pittsburgh good field position and they'll win. I think this is going to be an ugly game, though. I think if you're Pittsburgh, you have found the recipe for success. Your defense has been playing well, although this is their first time really playing against a caliber quarterback like Andy Dalton, who I know has been playing better.
Oh, he stinks. Andy Dalton stinks.
Well, but he has been. He's been playing better.
Yeah.
And I think this is a big test for Pittsburgh. Le'Veon Bell's got to touch the ball 25 times. Antonio Brown has to be targeted at least 10 times. And if Pittsburgh does those things and they still lose, I'll be okay, because that is what is going to be conducive for winning for them going down the stretch here.
Yeah, if I'm a Steeler fan, give Le'Veon Bell the ball, because it showed in the Baltimore game. Then you went away from him in the Jacksonville game, and it certainly helps you in your red zone woes. So if I'm Pittsburgh, I'm feeding Bell the ball, running it down Cincinnati's throat, and then defense is going to give me turnovers on a terrible quarterback in Andy Dalton. I think Pittsburgh might roll in this one. I really do. At home, and they get the win.
I think they'll win.
Next game, new game. New York Giants coming off their first win of the season, hosting the Seattle Seahawks. A little bit of an interesting game just because of the big win, but you're looking at a battle of bad offensive lines. I think this could be an ugly game, but I'll take Seattle on the road. I think Russell Wilson makes a play late.
Give me Seattle 14-3.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's the score.
Actually, no. Give me Seattle 9-3.
9-3. Oh, there we go. I think that actually could happen there.
How about give me Seattle 4-3?
4-3. Oh man, I wouldn't be surprised even with that baseball score. The Giants had that one to start a couple weeks ago against the Chargers, but yeah, give me Seattle. I just don't see how although the Giants proved me wrong last week, but I'm just going to stick with Seattle. I think Russell Wilson, as I said before, makes a play late. Next game, new game, we'll start with the Eagles. Monday Night Football, hosting the Washington Redskins. A huge game for both teams, especially for Washington. If the Eagles can win this game, Ian, they will have a stranglehold on this division. 3-0 record, sweep the Redskins, and I think the Eagles are going to get it done at home, Ian. I just love the way this team is playing on third down, as I've said time and time again. The Eagles' defensive line, front seven, is just getting immense pressure on the quarterback. I think they'll be up ready to roll. David Akers is getting inducted into the Eagles Hall of Fame as well. Crowd's going to be juiced up. I think Carson Wentz makes some plays again on third down. So I think the Eagles it'll be a highly contested game. It's going to be one of those really intense NFC East battles like normal, especially with the Eagles and Redskins lately. But I think the Eagles will get it done this week. I'm going to say 27-23.
I can buy that. Give me the Eagles in this one too. Carson Wentz playing big time ball. He is a guy who I think is like kind of maybe not going to win it, but he should be a guy considered for MVP because he's been I think that good this season defensively, and you can mask so many problems that you have if you're able to get pressure on the quarterback, and no one does that better than the Philadelphia Eagles right now. They are getting after it and abilities to win. They're running the ball better with LeGarrette Blount. Give me the Eagles in this one.
Yeah, a lot of credit when you talk about the defense, Ian, goes to Jim Schwartz and the way he's been able to disguise and manipulate a few things with the Eagles' secondary issues being just in terms of just being thin, and then obviously getting pressure. He's dialing up blitzes at the right time. And Ronald Darby is back at practice this week. We'll see if he plays. I think he will. I don't know how much, though. But I think either way, that's a big boost.
He's back at practice. I thought he was done for the year.
Yeah, well, it was only a 4 to 6 week injury, and this was the first target date to bring him back was this Monday night game, having the 11-day layover after the Thursday night game in Carolina. So I think that's a big win for the Eagles if he can play this week. Again, I don't know how much, but either way, he'll be a big bring back for the Eagles, especially with how well the secondary is playing without him this entire season. Unbelievable.
Exactly.
And then we finish off, Ian, our final game, next game, new game, Sunday Night Football, rematch of Super Bowl 51, Patriots and the Falcons in New England. I'm very interested to see how this game's going to go, Ian. We've seen the Patriots' woes, especially defensively, which I still am very much surprised about. Then you have an Atlanta team who has some injuries of their own, including Julio Jones, who's been banged up but still kind of playing through it. Mohamed Sanu's been out. That's been a big loss. But you've had two really bad losses at home to Buffalo and obviously Miami last week and blowing that 17-0 lead. I don't know how this game's going to go. I don't know what teams from each side we're going to get. I honestly don't know. But because New England is at home, I know they've been beaten at home before. Well, actually, I'm going to take more time to think about it. I'm going to put the spotlight on you.
Okay. I'm going to take Atlanta in this game, and it has everything to do with offensively and their speed, something that New England's defense doesn't have. So New England hasn't played well all year. So I'll take the Falcons.
I changed my mind. I'm going Atlanta too. I don't trust that New England defense.
No, it has everything to do with that with the New England defense.
I know Julio Jones is hurt, but I can see the Falcons getting to the run game with Freeman and Tevin Coleman and be able to get some ball control, keep Tom Brady off the field. You wear down that defense, and then you open up the pass game and Matt Ryan starts picking guys apart. I think that could be the Falcons' game plan this week. And they still have some pieces defensively, too.
I agree.
So there we have it. All of our picks for next game, new game. So I think we only split on, one game, I think it was?
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, there was only one game, so there we go. So we'll see how our records show this week. Hopefully, we'll get Alex and D-Jock back in our next episode. Next week, we just had a lot of issues with scheduling and stuff like that. So hopefully, we'll get D-Jock back next week. And then we can find out where the heck we are in these standings. I'm curious myself. But I know I haven't really done well the last 2 weeks. So this should be a good one. So that'll do it for this week's show. Be sure now to follow the podcast on Twitter. We are now the Next Game, New Game podcast, formerly the Football Friday podcast. You can find us on Twitter at NGNG_NFL for all the latest show archives and NFL news and notes. You can follow Ian on Twitter at B104_Hunter. I'm on Twitter at MCatrillo. And, of course, we are on YouTube as well. All of our show archives are there from past and present at Next Game, New Game. That is changed now, Ian. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so there you go. Next Game, New Game on YouTube. Ian, going to be back with you, my man, getting the new vibes going on the new show, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, it's going to be it's been fun, Matt. It's fun. It's been fun. We're doing pretty good. We're rolling right along.
There we go. And make sure, again, you follow us on Twitter at NGNGNFL. So for Ian Hunter, I'm Matt Catrillo. Be sure to continue to follow us on Twitter and enjoy this week's NFL Action Week 7 edition.